Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. If you are in Central Europe, my name is Daniel Burgos. I'm the Vice Rector for International Research at the International University of La Rioja in Spain. And more importantly now, today, I'm a partner of the INCREDIT project. The INCREDIT project has gathered a number of European partners around deep technologies, very much focused on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Today we will have a very thrilling agenda for 90 minutes. We will not take you long, but I really encourage you to stay until the end because every single section of the agenda will be interesting. We will make a combination of official presentation like this one, along with a keynote talk by a prestigious expert on the topic, and also some colloquia and number of things. So the format will be diverse, so we can keep up the interest and also the attention from all the participants. I think the first order of things is to give the word to the project coordinator, in this case represented by Apurva Khan. Please, all yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Daniel. So also a big warm welcome from my side, and I will present also some slides, and I promise to be short so that we can actually keep most of the discussion for the wonderful keynotes and the panel discussion we will have. But yeah, my name is Apurva. I work as a lecturer in entrepreneurship at Aalto University, and I've had the pleasure of being a coordinator from Aalto on this project. But of course, it was not just me from Aalto, and so I would like to really recognize our PI, Principal Investigator Professor Tua Björklund, and our project manager, who was more active on day-to-day basis all the time, as well as my colleague Klaus, who was helping from the School of Engineering. Just as a very quick overview, we will start with some welcome and introductions, after which we will have a very interesting and thought-provoking session on ethical artificial intelligence by Christian Strack from the University of Bonn, after which we will have a more general, more informal panel discussion discussing the results from INCREDIT, but also trying to give some suggestions and some lessons learned from this whole endeavor. And after which we will have a reflection on the latest deep tech trends, and then the closing remarks. So just as a very, very quick overview of INCREDIT. So INCREDIT was a cohort 3 project under the EIT's HEY initiative, or Higher Education Institute initiative, specifically focused on deep tech talent and related to developing the entrepreneurial capacities of higher education institutions. And so our project was based on the principles that deep tech is not just a field limited to, let's say, science or technology students, but it requires an interdisciplinary approach. Like any other industry, deep tech should also include other fields. The other visions of our project included a strong emphasis on practice-based collaboration, which was evident through the work done with the startups as well as with the industry by all our partners. And then number 3 and 4 were about the idea of life-wide learning opportunities. So hopefully engaging with the industry, bringing back individuals to learn and to relearn, and also training that was offered to our staff, both academic and non-academic. And the last part was to use this project as an opportunity to build a more sustainable form of continuation beyond this project. And so this project was done in collaboration of 5 universities from 3 different countries of Finland, Spain, and Sweden. And so the full partners of this project included us at Aalto, Hanken School of Economics, and Vaasa University of Applied Sciences from Finland, Umeå University from Spain, and Umeå University from Sweden, and Umeå from Spain. But we were also excited to have a couple of associate partners, again, from all over Europe. And especially we were thrilled to have Idea Square at CERN involved, who offered us in particular a captivating session on deep tech education and training in phase 1. The other partners were more focused on the Finnish or Swedish landscape, and they were more involved through collaborations and discussions with our partners here at Aalto University. And yeah, so the INCREDIT project approach was based on interdisciplinarity, a practice-based approach, lifelong learning, and hopefully connecting to the wider ecosystem. The project had 5 key areas that we were managing, and each one was sort of coordinated by the respective partners. And so as the coordinators, Aalto took responsibility for project management. Umeå University did a great job in sort of supporting the educational design and development, for example, through the running of these inventory planning sessions. Hanken coordinated and reported on the student training and activities done on the student side. VAMC was overseeing the work on the ecosystem, and UNIR on communication and dissemination. But I think this is maybe the most interesting information that I will share in the welcome is, of course, the summary now that we look back on this little more than a year and a half of this project. And so in total, in phase 1, we were able to train way more than the planned KPIs, and likewise in phase 2 as well. So as you can see, the number of students trained was more than 1,400 across the 2 phases. We also were able to train more than 300 mentor more than 300 students. We also had some great results in terms of academic staff members trained, especially in phase 2, and also a great increase in the number of non-academic staff trained in phase 2, especially thanks to UNIR. And we were able to also bring in the ecosystem as initially planned, and this was evident through the number of startups and scale-ups supported throughout our project, as well as the improved support structure and mechanisms, which were largely emphasized here on Aalto, and in particular in the collaboration between the School of Engineering and the School of Business, and the role that Design Factory plays within that. But what I was really happy to see were also the number of new partnerships established in phase 2, particularly because in phase 1, the main partnership was between cohort 2 project Accelerate, which is coordinated also by Aalto University and INCREDIT. But in phase 2, these partnerships spanned beyond just Aalto, and actually included many of the partner universities from INCREDIT collaborating further on a bilateral basis. We were also thrilled to actually have one startup already created within the duration of INCREDIT, which was sort of one of these additional KPIs. And what was really impressive is that one of the startups that was supported during our project was also able to raise 720,000 euros. So this is a very quick summary of the achievements in phase 1 and 2, and as a whole within INCREDIT. And that's basically it from my side. As promised, I tried to keep it short and sweet, and we will now move on actually with the keynote by Christian, focusing on deep technologies and AI.
Thank you so much, Apurva. Very good summary and short, which is really nice also. I have the pleasure to introduce now my dear friend Christian Strake, who is a key player in the field of deep tech and education, especially, not only, but also. He's now in charge of the cloud strategy at the University of Bonn in Germany, but this is just one of his many talents. He's also consultant to UNESCO, the Council of Europe, the European Commission, and many other places, and is a serial entrepreneur, has founded a number of working groups and networks, associations. He's now very much involved in a network focused on AI and ethics, which is one of the reasons why I invited him over here. But he made other things in the world, like, for instance, being an ICDS chair, International Council for Distance Education chair, for a few years, very much focused on open education and open science, okay? And he's also leading MOOCs, and invited professor in a number of positions. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that he's professor in China at the East China Normal University and also at the Korean National Open University in Seoul. So he's very multifaceted. I think a man of the Renaissance with an eclectic view, which is very worthy to listen to, because he will combine, I'm completely sure, the most technical approaches to the humanistic view on the side of the ethical component into the in the next talk. So thank you so much, Christian, for being so kind and being here with us, and really improve the quality and the level of the discussion in this final conference of the INCREDIT project. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much to you all for your kind invitation, and it's my great pleasure to speak to you. And thank you so much, Daniel, for your extraordinary introduction. I don't know if I can fulfill all the promises, but I will try to do my best. And let's have a look if I can even compete with you, Apurva, in the shortage of the presentations, that I can also maybe allow some questions and discussions in the end. If you don't mind, I would like to share my screen to also showcase my slides that I've prepared, and I hope that you can see the cover page right now. And I will talk about ethical artificial intelligence for all, because this is at my heart. I would like to not only facilitate education for our students, but I also would like to address our future society. And that is my meaning of education and artificial intelligence for all, because we have always to think about how our society will evolve and how it will look like in 5 or 10 years. Having said that, I'm with the University of Excellence in Bonn now, and I'm happy also to share our castle that is the headquarters of our university. I will share the presentation with you. You will find it on my website, but I will also give it a DOI that you can also share it on your website, of course, and distribute it according to this open license. That I'd like to encourage you also to do the same, always to put an open license on everything that you are publishing, that everybody can also reuse it and share it with colleagues and friends. Daniel, you have already introduced myself. That's why I only would like to maybe add that I have studied educational sciences a while ago, more than 20 years now ago. And since then, I was already focusing on technology-enhanced learning at that time in the 90s of last century, writing a thesis on how to introduce mathematics via the help of computers in the age of kindergarten. And that was maybe a little bit too much forecasting, but yeah. Actually, I could continue. I was first working in business, and afterwards I moved to the academic sector, and I did my PhD in informatics and economics. That's why I have a perspective from both parts of the world. Well, let's start. And I'd like to also underline that we are living in difficulties and difficult times. We have several international crises that we are facing, and one of them is the economic crisis. But since several years, we have also to see that there is an educational crisis. We have lost innovation in education, and we are much more focusing on saving resources and decreasing the costs. We have media crisis not only through the invention of so-called alternative facts, and fake news are already a word that is known to everybody. And we have all of them leading to a societal crisis. And my statement is that we need much more open education for all to facilitate and to ensure that we have also learning processes and education for all as a human right. And what do I mean with that? Open education is for me much more than open education resources. It's a philosophy, it's a broad concept that is also including strategies for facilitating open pedagogies, open learning objectives, and new ways how to learn and teach together. Next to these crises in the last years, we have also even more challenges that are currently dictating our way how we are living and working. We have had the COVID-19 pandemic, we have the war in Ukraine and even in other countries, and we have still the challenges related to climate change, poverty, and hunger. And the big question is that the new normal for us? Are we continuing to live in such ways and in such situations? And now, even though that artificial intelligence was already invented in the 50s, 1950 years last century, it's now calling the masses, it's now available for everybody, and it's appearing in the mass media and changing much more than ever. And it's also changing the opinions and the mindsets about the opportunities and possibilities that technology can achieve. The question is, what is artificial intelligence? And if we can compare both perspectives, the one as technology as a friend, or to be afraid of artificial intelligence, we have always to think about the two different parts or two different ways that artificial intelligence can be defined. At the moment, we only have weak artificial intelligence, meaning that there is no artificial intelligence that is already deciding and improving itself by itself. And we are on a way that a strong artificial intelligence could be possible. We are not yet decided, and it's also depending on our definition, how we define strong artificial intelligence, whether it will be facilitated or not. But in a combination with implants or sensors put into our brain, we can even imagine now such ways that strong artificial intelligence can, at least in collaboration with us, see the light and take over. The question here is, what is intelligence? And at the moment, we have only weak artificial intelligence that is allowing automation of processes and automatic results. On the other hand, we have the concept of intelligence that was defined as a single human facility, but now we can also think about neural systems that are becoming even bigger and stronger than human brains. And if we compare different approaches to artificial intelligence, we have seen data-driven artificial intelligence and knowledge-based artificial intelligence from the beginning, both taking different directions, but at the moment they are converging into hybrid artificial intelligence, meaning that data-driven artificial intelligence that is benefiting from huge data sets is also trained and becoming better and better by training on the data, while knowledge-based artificial intelligence that is based on human built concept is also now gaining more and more advantages through the use of big data sets that are added to these knowledge bases. Most important and that is the key point here, is that independently what we are talking about, strong artificial intelligence or weak artificial intelligence, we have always to consider and to keep in mind it's always a human-to-human relationship. Even though if we do something on a computer or on a device or on a robot, it's always a human who developed, designed, and implemented this computer, this device, this robot, this algorithm. That means there's always one human who is responsible for the introduction and the development and maintenance of AI services. And the same also for the other side, it's always a human who is responsible for using such AI services. That's why we have always to think about both responsibilities. The one who is offering the AI services, it's a human, and the one who is using the AI services, it's also a human. My key message here, and in the end, I will have 3 key messages. That's why I will also ask you to repeat them. That's why please keep them in mind. Artificial intelligence changes more than digitalization and COVID-19 pandemic. This is what I believe very much related to the situation that we could turn off digital devices and computers in education. And we could compete and get rid of COVID-19 pandemic, but we cannot turn off artificial intelligence. It is now active, and not only pupils, but also teachers and all citizens, the whole society, enterprises, and so on, all stakeholders can use artificial intelligence, and it is not stoppable. That means artificial intelligence is now going into all details, and we have also not only to react on that, but we have also to be proactive, think about how we change our way, and in particular, how we change our society and education. If you look at this figure, it's showing the numbers of the neural network nodes. And there is a steady increase in numbers from year to year since the year 2016. And currently in the year 2024, we are between the number of neural nodes of mouse and cat related to AI systems. And the forecast is that in 5, latest in 6 years, the AI systems will have much more neural network nodes than a human brain. And that means we are really under a time pressure if you would like to do something about the regulation and the definition, what we would like to allow AI systems to do, and how we would like to use them in the future. For that reason, the European Commission started already some years ago the development of the AI Act. It is an impact-oriented approach. Already in 3 years ago, they have put on the table the first proposal, and this was already discussed among all European stakeholders. In the year 2023, ChatGPT came, and that's why it changed a lot of the discussions, as well as it was introducing the opportunity for the broad audience and the mass media also to discover so-called general purpose AI systems. And this was also added to the AI Act in the end of this year. In the year 2024, it was approved, and finally it was also published at the beginning of August, just a few weeks ago. And what does it mean? It has let's have a look. 4 different risk levels of AI systems that are introduced and defined. Unfortunately, the definitions of the AI systems and their risk are not done in the same manner. That means there is no consistency related to their definitions. And the big problem is starting with the added general purpose AI as an additional category that is crossing the 4 risk levels. The 4 risk levels are dealing with the different impact that AI systems can have. And most important is here to note that the AI Act is regulating AI systems for all sectors, independently what we are talking about, with few exceptions, and that is for defense and other public interests and sectors. That's why you can also see some room for negotiations here, that some countries in the European Union could also claim that they have a special national interest for their own sectors here. The AI Act is not yet put into practice because you have also to see that the AI Act has different time limits for the 4 risk levels, and the latest one will be in force only in 3 years. That means there's still a lot of time until the full AI Act will be applied. The details are not yet defined in the AI Act, but will be defined by the AI office. And the big problem here is that the AI office has a lot of tasks that are listed here on the slide, but in particular, the AI office can change the annexes. And this is most important because it took 3 years to discuss and to approve the AI Act, while after the approval and publication, now the office can do that and change the annexes without any further discussion among the member states. That's a little bit weird, but actually this is how political law development is taking place at the moment. Well, and if we look for education in the AI Act, we can find that in some of the recitals that are the paragraphs in the beginning, just describing the other laws and frameworks that are related to the topic. We have education mentioned in the articles of 4, 5, and 9, and in particular in the Annex 3 related high-risk AI systems. But again, please be remembered, the annexes can be changed by the AI office later on, and that's why it's not that fixed in stone what is written here in the annexes. Having said that, I would like to highlight that education, and this is also what we always should keep in mind, is a special sector. It's not like any other sector. It's maybe only medicine could be compared with education, because also medicine has very sensible situations to deal with. In the field of education, we have to deal with education as a human right, as well as the promise that education should be inclusive. And that means education should be facilitated for all, for anybody also with special needs. And we have also to see that there is a mandatory school visit for young children, while learning cannot be forced. And that means if teacher would like to teach something, that the pupils do not automatically learn by themselves, but they have to be motivated and they have to learn by themselves. If you would like to find out more about the special case of education, I'd like to invite you to have a look on my publications on the website, where I have also listed some more articles about that. For that reason, we have created and established a network related the ethical use of AI, in particular in education. And we started with a handout dedicated to teachers in universities and higher education. The first version was published in the March this year, while the network was already existing for 1 year. It consists of 10 statements that are just describing on one page what is it, what is artificial intelligence, and followed by a FAQ list with answers plus practical recommendations how to introduce AI in universities on 2 pages. And I'm very happy to say that just a few weeks ago, we already published a second version, version 1.1, with not only a new design, but also an update and revised version in July this year. Still with 10 statements, a little bit changed in the wording, and an FAQ list also updated, and you can find here the link to this publication. It's already uploaded online. And the networks, what are they about? Well, we have 2 networks actually. One German network that is already existing since 1.5 years, since March 2023. And you can see the list of the participating or the first participating universities. At the moment, there are even more of them. And I have presented that German network at the AI conference 2023 in Tokyo, and everybody was so excited to hear about that, but telling me, I cannot speak German, why can't we participate? And I said, okay, let's have a look, and maybe we'd like also to set up a European network in English. And yeah, now it's also running for more than 1 year. We have monthly meetings, only 1 hour maximum, and you're most welcome also to join our discussions. At the moment, we are adapting and applying our handout for the stakeholder group of students, together with the collaboration of student organizations, as well as with the analysis of AI policies in the different countries that are participating in the European network. And yeah, if you'd like to join, please simply contact me about that. Well, what I'd like to tell you is that as a key message too, artificial intelligence and education are a special relationship. Due to the fact that education is a special sector, we need also special regulation of artificial intelligence for its use in education. And that should be done at the global level. It should be regulated worldwide. And I'm telling you that because you should not only allow and invite everybody to benefit from artificial intelligence, but we should also carefully decide what we would like to allow and what are the limits. And that's why we need such a regulation, that we have clear borders and frameworks for the use of artificial intelligence in education, that everybody knows what we should not do, what we are not allowed to do, but also what we can do and what we should allow. Well, the Council of Europe is the oldest European institution, and it was already established after the Second World War in the year 1949, with the main focus on the 3 pillars that are human rights, democracy, and rule of law, to avoid that such a bad thing like the Second World War could repeat again. And that's why the Council of Europe is also very much focusing on ongoing developments and changes in society, like also artificial intelligence. And they have already discovered the relevance for education some years ago and set up such a first publication here. And in particular, they asked for a regulation in education and got a mandate by the Ministry of Education last year for an international convention. That means a new law that is complementing the AI Act for the specific application field of education, as well as the development of a recommendation for AI literacy as a toolbox. And you find more details here on this link. And here you can read the precise resolution by the Ministries of Education from last year. And the idea is that such an international law as a binding convention, as well as the AI literacy toolbox should be developed and published until next year. Here you can see the AI and Ed expert group that was appointed by the Council of Europe. I'm very proud to be a member of it, and we have now done several meetings in Strasbourg as well as online to not only discuss but also to develop the publications and the international convention as quick as possible. We also run a workshop at the AI and Ed conference not only last year, but also this year again, this year in Recife in Brazil. And I was the moderator in Brazil this time, also like last year. And we had very fruitful discussions with the conference participants about our future upcoming international laws. Next to that, we have also facilitated a systematic literature review on ethical AI in education. I only would like to mention it here, not to run out of time here. You can find the download here. It's following standardized protocol for systematic literature reviews on AI and education that you can find here. And we have had in total 324 records that we have analyzed, and in the end we did an in-depth analysis of 62 articles. The very short overview of the results in brief relate to our research question number 1. We have only 3 journals that have published more than 2 articles on ethical AI and education. Most of the journals have only published 1 article. Most of the articles came from the fields of education and technology. That is not surprising. But related to research question 3, we have to see that almost all publications, all articles came from the global north, and in particular also from developed countries. And surprisingly, we have not found any article that was older than 3 years, and we had an increase by 2,000% from the first publication year 3 years ago and the last one. You can find all the results here in this publication, as it is behind a paywall. We have also published a preprint that is available for free. Major consequences: we will repeat we have already repeated our systematic literature review, because we have also seen that during the year 2023, more articles were published than all the years before. And we also have concluded that we need much more to focus on ethical AI and education as a human right. And again, here you can find the references to the publications to read the details. That's leading me to my last and third key message. I would like to underline that education and AI have to focus much more ethics, democracy, and the social society in the future. And for that reason, I'd like also to showcase some of the threats that we have also to address here. It's about commercial monopolism that is leading to the potential situation that human rights, democracy, and rule of law can just fall down against commercial interests, as enterprises are now also entering the stage and the floor in education, even in school education. And for that reason, we have to be very careful how we can facilitate also learning and education to give pupils the chance to build their own competences and to become strong citizens of our society in the future. Related to the ethical use of AI, I would like to point to two publications that you can find here. One of them is the handout, and you can also find two more publications here about educational AI scenarios that are benefiting, but also describing bad scenarios for the use of AI in education. Our networks, I'd like also to introduce in the end is meeting again at the second AI and Ed working conference at the Council of Europe in Strasbourg in the end of October. I'm one of the co-organizers of the conference, and you can find more about it on my website. The agenda as well as the conference website is already up and running. And we are also welcoming in particular representatives from the member states of the Council of Europe. And by the way, the Council of Europe is much bigger than the European Union. It's also enjoying membership from other continents like Canada, Japan, and so on. And again, if you would like to join our network ethical use of AI, you're most welcome to do so. And finally, what we have also set up, and this is just the last advertisement, please allow me that, we have established up UNESCO network, it's standing for United Nations UniTwin Network on Open Education. We started in June this year with 16 partners from all 5 continents, and our idea is that we would like also to address the future education through open approaches, as well as to see how artificial intelligence can support to improve our future open education. And here you can find the website of our UniTwin network on open education, Just to give you an overview where our partners are located, if you're interested in that, the partnership is open for everybody. That means if you'd like also to join with your organization, please do so and have a look how you can also collaborate and contribute to that network. And the AI future, my last question to you, will it look like that we are sitting just in front of our computer and the computer is doing everything by itself without us and we only have to look on it? Or, and this is maybe even more challenging, will it be like that artificial intelligence is not even visible anymore, but it is simply in our operating systems that we are not controlling anymore via a computer, but by our own natural speech. And that could also lead to the situation that artificial intelligence is not even visible or identifiable for most of the people worldwide. My key messages, just to remind you if you forgot them: artificial intelligence changes more than COVID-19 pandemic and digitalization. We have to regulate the use of AI and education, but we have also to facilitate education about AI, just for competence building and future citizenship. And education and AI have to focus much more on human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, as as well as our whole society. And I strongly believe that open education can help a lot here as a broad concept. Thank you so much for your interest. You can find some references here and here and here and here and here and here and here. And here are my contact data. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Christian. Very nice overview of your activities. I really didn't like the last slides with so many things to read about. You can make us work too much. Please use AI just to summarize it and just throw a half a page, okay? Not longer than that. So if there is any question, burning question for Christian now, that could be lovely. If not, he will come back later to a panel also with Professor Martinez Arboleda, where both can develop a little further their thoughts. But anyway, any burning question now is the time. Just raise your hand and I will give you the floor. People are thinking. You made us think too far. So we will keep this inner thinking until later. Oh, Tommy has a question.
Yes, I have a question. I couldn't find the you know the Zoom button to click my hand there. But it's all good talking about regulations about AI, and I think it's really needed to have that type of discussion. But we can already see that in the war in Ukraine, it's written about the use of AI for war purposes. Have you been participating in any discussion concerning the shadow part of society? Because military and police intelligence don't really want to share what they know or don't know about the use of AI for policing or military purposes.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Actually, it was possible for me to visit the central headquarters of Raytheon some years ago. That is the biggest training provider for the Army of the United States. And they introduced me to their secrets. And I cannot tell you details, but they have already things at hand and in use as a service for the military that you cannot even think about that. At that time, it was already that they could display automatic translations into any language on glasses already 6 years ago. And you can imagine now, if that was already possible 6 years ago, what is possible now. Having said that, I also pointed out that the AI Act is not for the regulation of military and the defense sector for these purposes, that the military can do whatever they would like to do. And countries are not eager to do regulation here. My key message is that we should strongly focus on regulations for education next to medicine. Because this is a very special and sensitive sector, and we probably cannot do anything against some developments in military, but we should be very careful what our future pupils and citizens are facing and how they are treated and what is done with them and their data. And that's why I'm not against artificial intelligence in school education in general, but with very careful implementation and thinking. And that's what I'd like to invite everybody to think about, the conditions that we would like to allow for artificial intelligence in school and higher education. You're muted, Daniel.
I'm a little dyslexic with this on-off thingy, okay? Thank you, Kristen. So I was just thanking you. As you could read from my lips, I'm completely sure that you did that. We will jump into the next section now with the panel about training that it will be moderated by Apurva. And later after that, we will come back to that discussion between Antonio, you and I on the topics. So please, Apurva, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. And of course, thank you, Christian, for the very captivating and very thought-provoking presentation. And so, yeah, for the panel where we're discussing some of the training that has been undertaken during INCREDIT, I thought I will prepare some questions. And so we're lucky to have a representative from all the partner universities. So what I have, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so what I've done is I've prepared a question for each partner to kind of talk a little bit more about, but then if there's time, of course, feel free to jump in from the other universities as well. So we have, of course, with me Ted from Umeå University, Tommy from Hanken, Kojovi from Vaasa University of Applied Sciences, and I will, of course, represent Aalto here in the discussions, and then, of course, Daniel, feel free to jump in as well if you would like to as well. But yeah, let's get started. And I've tried to make the questions different for each one, but like I said, please feel free to jump in to add in. And maybe let's start with you, Tommy, actually. And for the training for Hanken, I thought it would be really nice if you could tell a bit about, you know, the success Hanken had, especially in training, not the students, which was also impressive, but really the staff training and mentoring. And maybe you could tell us how you were able to achieve numbers that far exceeded, let's say, the KPI requirements, and you know, how did you actually develop training that was useful for academic and non-academic staff?
Yes, when starting the project, I mean, still the project is about deep tech, and when facing the enormous width of deep tech, we had to kind of try to cling to something that was tangible. And during that time, AI was a strong force, making its impact on not only universities, but in society in general. But we knew very, very little about it. So how do you go about to train people about something you don't know anything about yourself and convince them that it will be good? First of all, I took a very functional approach, seeing what impact could this have on my own courses and the teachers that were engaged in my courses. So I networked among these teachers, in this case, the bachelor thesis course, and said, you know, had informal discussions. What do we need to learn? What do we need to know? And then we had started in a small scale among the teachers to kind of, in a smaller group, get to know more. And in that way, we could learn from each other, but also challenge each other a little bit in a small group. And then we tried to extend that group. While this was happening, Hanken School of Economics also produced a policy, an AI policy. So then I understood that, hey, whatever we do, it must be reflected in relation to that policy. And that policy concerned, you know, AI in research and AI in teaching. But it did not really reflect AI among, for example, administrators. So that was a challenge, but that's something that the university could learn from our work, then, that we need to expand this policy. Anyway, when we talk about employees, it's well known that managing researchers is like herding cats. Everyone has their own opinion. No one wants to be led by anyone else. So therefore, I said to myself, let's start with the core of teachers that I'm engaged with, and then I will move on to others later on. Among administrators, I took another approach, and I said, okay, let's lobby, and lobby. So I went to the team leaders, because there are different type of teams, administrative teams at the university. So I went to the team leaders and said, hey, I had a discussion with our rector. He said that we should know more about AI since we have invested in Copilot. What do you know about AI? And they said basically, well, not so much. Okay, how about if I create a training program for administrators and AI? Does that sound good? So I kind of had a dialogue with the administrating teams, and that way created an interest among them. And then we had some initial workshops. They went surprisingly well. We took an external expert, so I also learned at the same time. Then we realized, well, hey, AI is changing. So we need to redo this together with administrators, but also include researchers. And then we put our final training moments to when teaching had stopped. Then we knew that, okay, now researchers and teachers are also available. And by doing that, we got a much higher response. And now the response was such also that, hey, this was very, very useful. When is the next workshop? So in that sense, we have implemented some kind of seed in the organization with an interest for AI and its impact on education and research.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tommy. I was just curious, any additions maybe from Ted or Kojovi? Have you noticed something similar happening at Umeå or Vasa University of Applied Sciences? Or was your experience a bit more pessimistic, so to speak?
Well, I agree with Tommy that herd cats managing researchers. So I can certainly sympathize with the challenge. Yeah, but I applaud Tommy and his approach. It sounds very pragmatic, as he himself said.
Yes, actually, from us at VAMC, we did something similar. But for us, the advantage was that we normally have once a month pedagogical day where the whole staff is brought together in the same auditorium. So if you have a product or something you want to show to all the staff, that is the best time to do that. So I remember before we went for summer, Tero had the privilege to present our findings and some other tools to the staff members. And on that day, even we circulated the form among the staff members so that if you want more mentoring or more training, so just use that paper, so tick in front of your name. And we got quite a lot of staff members or teachers who accepted and who were also trained. So they was instrumental in this, and it was really, really successful. And of course, we had more sources from the student also. But as far as staffs are concerned, yes, the teaching and then also the non-teaching or the administrative staffs were really involved in this, and it went well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kojovi and Ted. So if we continue now with the next question to keep up with the time as well, let's maybe continue with you, Kojovi. Are you able to maybe share a little bit more, again, focusing on training, but maybe not on the student side, but the training and mentoring that was done in VAMC related to the startups? And if I remember correctly, there was even a collaboration effort between Hanken and VAMC related to this training that was provided to the startups. So do you want to maybe share a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. I think that was one of our success story, I have to say, because we are really kind of proud because those guys who came up with the idea of the startup, they were from Vaasa. So they were just students. Some of them were my colleague when I was in my master's. So it was so interesting to see how they came up with this product called Avexana. It supports students or researchers when they are writing their thesis or article. So it came from the challenge they themselves faced when they were writing their master's thesis. So they took that as an opportunity to create a product that brings solution to this kind of issues that other students are also facing. And as you know, sometimes the final phase is the kind of a bottleneck in the whole process for some students to graduate. So if we have a product that can help them to graduate on time by finishing on time their thesis is always very good. So that was what they were having as a product. So we have to support them. That is, we did only for one startup. And to begin that, it was a little bit challenging because we didn't know per se what to do exactly. That is where Hanken came into account because they have done that before in the stage one of the project. So we had some meeting with Tommy. So we extend some paperwork also, some documents to be used. So we have done that and it went well. So now when it came to supporting the startup themselves, we had several meetings with them. And the approach was technical and also financial. So the technical part was to go through the whole platform with them to see if we can make some recommendations, some things they need to change the outlook or the front end, things like that, and some new features they need to add. So all that we have done with them. And then also with Tommy, there was also a need for financial support or to get funding. So they were instrumental in helping us how they can apply or how they can proceed to be able to get some funding for their product because these are just some students. They did not have any financial strength yet to handle this. So it went well. Although at VAMP we use to support some local business or small size businesses, of course, we have learned a lot from this collaboration, how to deal with tech-driven startups in particular. So far, that's how it has been. And when school resumed, we contacted again a startup, and they have made some changes in their website, on the platform. Actually, it looks much more nice, and some new features were added. And even although this project has ended, we are still continuing to support them to see if our school can use their product in the future or not.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think one important thing with INCREDIT that we've sort of always been talking about is how to keep these actions going beyond the funding as well. So I think it's nice to hear that there will be some activities directly continuing beyond the INCREDIT itself as well. Maybe Tommy, from your side, how was this collaboration like, and how was it to kind of see the methods and approaches you're using in Hanken also being translated to VAMK?
Well, in this case, it was a special business model that needed to be developed. It kind of related to being born global. They had this type of business model where they could never survive just acting in a national context. They had to internationalize. And one thing that is extremely important for this type of startups, and especially when it's an AI-based business model, is to understand how to act within the investor ecosystem. An AI startup is not of interest for any type of venture capitalist. You have to do your homework and identify this central venture capitalist that might be interested in investing in an AI startup directed towards the educational industry. There are not that many that are there. So therefore, this was one thing that I don't know how they succeeded by the end of the day, but I think maybe Kojovi knows more, that they managed to get some funding to develop their product. It seems so, at least when I look at the website.
Great. Yeah, and so to keep up with the time, so we've now discussed the training done on the academic and non-academic staff, a little bit about the startup training as well. So let's talk about the major training that was done, which was, of course, with the students. And so this question's for you, Ted. And in many ways, what happened at UMEO was sort of also related to the project vision in terms of this interdisciplinary education, and that, you know, deep tech and entrepreneurship are both areas that are not just limited to students who sort of have a background in those fields. And so with INCREDIT, there was a emphasis on bringing deep tech to students who otherwise would not necessarily be comfortable with those topics, and entrepreneurship to students maybe from the deep tech fields as well. And in UMEO, you had specifically the School of Business and the Department of Informatics working in these contexts. So could you just tell us a little bit more about the teaching activities?
Well, first of all, my colleague, Professor Thomas Blomqvist, who is a professor at the business school, he incorporated different examples, practical examples from various deep tech implementations, like real world deep tech implementations into his courses. So one example would be from the shipping industry, where he looked at a solution called Trade Lens, which were supposed to eliminate sort of paperwork and speed up, you know, bureaucracy and that kind of thing. And he looked specifically at why that sort of failed to take off. So he identified sort of the main barriers, so to speak, to why this sort of implementation of blockchain technology failed. There was a lack of industry-wide support. There was unwillingness to sort of adopt these things. There was resistance from different stakeholders, and there was basically not a lot of consensus on how and why they should be implemented. So he sort of used that to demonstrate sort of the challenges, the barriers to, you know, implementing deep tech in well, any kind of industry, essentially. It is not just about technology, it's about sort of overcoming different sort of institutional barriers. As for my own field, my own department, informatics, we have had a couple of different approaches. For our sort of undergraduate students, we basically had them look at sort of the implications of AI, not so much of the technology itself, but the implications sort of in terms of ethics and responsibility, essentially. What happens when we push more and more agency onto the technology itself, as opposed to the humans that are using the technology? For instance, what happens when AI-fueled systems handle more and more of the decision-making in different situations? What are the implications? How do we handle this in practically and also ethically? For our master's level students, we push them a little harder, so to speak. So we actually had them use not generative AI, but these sort of no-code tools, like Big ML was one of them, for instance, to actually use and apply it in practice. Specifically, you had them train a simple but sort of also for these kinds of students, sort of complicated application where they trained an AI to analyze pictures of welds, essentially, welding lines, or what would you call them? Welding joints, sorry. And had an AI sort of be able to analyze if these welds were sort of up to par, or if they were sort of insufficient in terms of quality. For instance, like if there were holes, or if there was spatter or something along those lines. So they had to actually apply this sort of machine learning in practice. So I guess that was the short version of how we've taught students at UMEO.
Awesome. Thanks for keeping it concise as well. And I think we're actually out of time. So let's continue with the last part of the session, and I give the floor back to you, Daniel.
Thank you so much. I was just about to scream and say, hey, the slot is mine, don't get longer. So thank you so much again for staying with us. We are just 20 minutes far, that it may be 30, but wait, you didn't hear that, from the end of the session today. And we will have a 20-minute discussion with Professor Martinez Arboleda, Antonio, from the University of Leeds, and the actual leader of the Knowledge Equity Network, Ken, okay, that I'm sure that he will talk a little more about now. And again, Christian Strake from the University of Bonn, with all the topics that he has been discussing. So just to be polite, I will be moderating, and just to be polite, I will think that I will give the floor first to Antonio, because Christian already had some time. And I'm in charge of asking questions, so I will ask some questions, and I hope that you answer the questions and not do like the politicians, that they answer whatever they want, irrespective of what the journalist ask. So the first question is, to me, it doesn't work. So much AI, so much ChatGPT, so much, and actually nothing is working properly. It's a lot of boom, a lot of fireworks, but in practice, it's just another tool, half-cooked tool, that is, we are being the beta testers, like it happened before with so many things, like Windows, just to say the most notorious one, okay? No actual change is happening. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Well, there is, I agree with you that they are tools and they are imperfect because they have been made by humans, and that there are so many challenges ahead to align our actual needs with the affordances of this technology. In reality, like a friend of mine was saying the other day, artificial intelligence in education appear to be like a solution in search of a problem. Okay, we've been thrown with artificial intelligence as we see it, ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. is primarily a product, a digital service, and I use it a lot. I love it. I think we should embrace it. I agree with Christian. We cannot disconnect artificial intelligence. But the question to me is, how do we make sure in education and in life in general, in society, that artificial intelligence is serving an educational purpose, is serving a social purpose, is helping people to research and learn better, is helping us to develop solutions for our challenges. And obviously there is a discrepancy there, because artificial intelligence as a commercial product has got some characteristics in the way in which innovation is being released, in the way in which the product is being presented, the characteristics of the service, etc. And we need to match that artificial intelligence with educational needs. So in the case of education, for instance, I am impressed with ChatGPT, okay, and I use it a lot and I like it. But then when it comes to the nitty-gritty of me sitting in front of ChatGPT and saying, okay, I have a class of 15 students who are learning Spanish at level B2, and we need to cover these topics, and I like them to learn in this way because I think it's more productive, more entertaining, it's better for them educationally, etc. Then ChatGPT doesn't really know its stuff. It's very good at general things, but not so much at specific questions that are aligned with our real needs. So what's happening is that, for instance, I've been working, this is to illustrate the challenge. I've been working with a chatbot that is going to help tutors to design activities for their students, following certain methodologies, following certain parameters, etc. And it's difficult. It's difficult because you have to get into customizing the chatbot. Then it turns out that we're gonna embrace open source code to make everything more accessible and ensure that we can also fine-tune the model, or rather than just customizing it. And obviously, for universities to support all this, there is no economies of scale. Yeah, if I want to build my project, chatbot project designed by Antonio, yeah, if everybody in each discipline wants to do their own chatbot, educationally driven, specialized in their content, yeah, we need to have some type of ecosystem for wider collaboration. You know, people like me teaching one specific subject across the world, collaborating in feeding with knowledge base, with suggestions, with curation, chatbots for specific needs, and chatbots that function, that work in the way we want. I don't think the way, you know, ChatGPT works, like if it was an oracle or a confessionary where you go and give it a prompt and then it gives you a lot of content. I don't think that's educationally fruitful, purposeful, adequate in many scenarios. Okay, so how do we create an environment in which institutions can support this type of innovation that is based on the specific needs of students, is based on subject specialization, and it has quality at the forefront and a sense of ownership, educational ownership, yeah, from the educators. I want to tell the chatbot how it should relate to my students, yeah? I don't want to be sold something by somebody who may not know my students or may not know my needs. So we are working on this. I mean, this project of chatbot has expanded. Now we have 12 people working on it with different universities, but we are in search of those connections to have the proper support in the form of a consortium, ecosystem, where we can rely, yeah, to have that blend of expertise. And I think it's a matter of knowledge equity, going back to what you said at the beginning. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Antonio. Very nice reflection, opening statement. The next ones I'll really we thank you and Christian that are a little shorter, so we can actually have some sort of ping-pong jiu-jitsu style, okay? But anyway, this first opening was really good. So I'm coming back to Christian right now, because you are discussing, you and I quite often about ethics, and because we are very much worried from the technological side of artificial intelligence, which is taking over everything. You know? We have the software, we have the apps, we have the cool part, okay? But how to apply, how to design the framework to make this happening between all of us, and it's a challenge. So for you, what is the actual challenge to combine, to couple this, artificial intelligence and ethics? How do you see that?
Well, my idea is that we treat artificial intelligence like an instrument to improve our education. And that could also be done simply to question the relevance of written examinations. We can have conversations with AI also about ethics, but we should also have a look how our prompts are influencing the results given by the AI system, just to also critically reflect what kind of bias is incorporated in AI systems. And for that reason, you can familiarize pupils with AI systems also in reflections and discussions about ethical general questions. And I think this is the best way to first showcase how you can use AI, as well as to use this as an instrument to introduce ethical general questions to pupils.
Okay.
I hope that was short enough.
I think it was lovely. Thank you so much. Good timing. That's very nice. So just to reloop the question to Antonio. So we have people, we have artificial intelligence, and I think that could be a bi-directional relation. It's not just that we orchestrate how AI can shape artificial intelligence in our lives, but also the other way around. How do you think that actually AI and the other deep tech technologies, I don't know if augmented reality could be taken as a deep tech technology, but any other deep tech technology can reshape our human relationships? How do you think the other way around coming back to us. The micro, sorry, excuse me, just open your mic.
Yes, sorry, yeah. No, our, I mean, in the near future, if not now, a lot of our human-to-human relationships are going to be mediated by AI in one way or another, because AI is embedded in the emails that we produce, for instance. In the future, it may be a greater level of integration in our knowledge production, communication, socialization. So that will definitely change the way in which we relate, because we will have to learn to differentiate what comes from you and what comes from a machine, and be very refined as to, you know, what percentage you think it's coming from a human and what do you think this is the product of the machine. People will refine, you know, their awareness about, you know, what others are saying to them and how others are relating to them. And then questions like virtual communities. I mean, with virtual reality, for instance, you know, this idea of being all together in one room with a greater level of technologies, advancements, it will feel more real, and you know, it will change a lot of things that have been already changing. So yeah, I think there will be a set of new rules and new patterns around these type of interactions.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go one layer up. We are talking about people, okay? We have the AI system, whatever. As Christian was saying, that I fully agree. This is my usual motto. This is just a tool. That's it. Let's play around with that, but let's see what comes up after that, okay? So we have the people, okay, as citizens, the personas, okay? And now we have a layer up that is the actual governance, the interinstitutional bodies, the political parties that actually rule things, and a different layer, scale. Could be a local law, could be an international declaration, could be many things can happen, but in a way that is such an umbrella that later the citizens will actually implement us, okay? So from the point of view of governance, how do you see, Christian, that all this process can be useful, transparent, responsible, that can be actually something that provides an added value to the people instead of a way of controlling? Can I say that a little more because of the new functionalities? How do you see that?
Well, you have already mentioned the most important point here, and that is about transparency. And here the big challenge is starting. AI systems are not transparent at all. And even if they are published as open source, you cannot dive into all the details and to analyze logarithms by yourself. And that means you have always to give trust, but also to reflect by yourself what can be, may be true and what not. Because everything can be fake. And that's why it's more about building trustful relationships. And we have also to have a look how we would like to regulate such systems. That's why my emphasis on the international regulation. We cannot tell the masses, we do not allow that and it will not happen. Of course it will happen. Everything will happen that is technologically feasible. You have seen that in the past. But we need some punishment and some frameworks to tell the people this is allowed and that is not allowed. Just to make sure what we would like to achieve and see happening. And the big lessons that everybody has to learn, not only the citizens, but in particular the politicians, is you cannot trust anything. You have always to reflect. And if you are not sure, please discuss. And then in human and transparent relationship, we can find out what we would like to facilitate.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm very much in favor of semi-automatic processes all the time, but not just for automatic processes based on electronics or informatics, okay? Computer science. So which
yeah,
is...
but the big problem is there should no automatic decision making at the end.
Of course.
This is there could be a lot of automatic processing and so on, but at any stage, one human should decide. This is my key point here.
No, I fully agree. It's what I meant, that the semi-automatic means that out of the 100% of the process, maybe 70, 60, 90 is taken by the semi-automatization of the processes, but the final decision comes from me, comes from a guy. I cannot really take that accountability out of me because I want to be lazy or unaccountable. Anyway, I will be accountable. So I have to take the decision, okay? So I think that this is part, but not just for automatic, not just for computer-based processes, but also for life, okay? I should be owning my own processes, not just relying on someone else all the time because it's what the government says or what the academic board says, whatever, okay? So I think the same thing, but just transfer from analog to digital to make it semi-automatic, okay? And in this discussion, where the students come, Antonio, because in fact we are always talking as we are a professor, you are a professor, I'm a chair or something. I always say the joke, sorry, it's a joke, it's very stupid, but I like it very much. I'm chair of e-learning, you are chair of technology, you are chair of too many chairs, and we need a table to discuss, okay? So, and the table is also for students. Where are the students sitting down around this table? How do you see that?
Yeah, well, I remember what Tommy said before about herding cats, okay? Researchers, students are, in the same situation. I have been actively fostering the responsible use of artificial intelligence with my own students in the classroom. And have come, with all sorts of instances, including people who said, I don't want to use artificial intelligence. I think it's unethical. I think blah, blah, blah. To me, when I see the excitement of the students and the engagement is when they see the practical application of artificial intelligence-led activities to their future professions or to their life outside the university. And I think it's very important as part of this process of bringing together different experts in educational fields across subjects. It's very important that we also try to connect with professional bodies, with people who are going to be also needing artificial intelligence for their jobs, so that we can integrate research, education, employability. So I see the excitement of the students in these type of experiences.
Thank you so much. Sometimes when I'm in a number of committees from UNESCO, for instance, UN or wherever, they say, let's make that the students make possible that the students come and say something. And we get some representative. And out of 50 old guys like me, there is a youngster, which the definition is quite blurred because when I was a youngster, it was up to 26 years old. And now it's up to 40 years old. And sometimes I find people that is bolder than me, and he's the youngster. But well, anyway, just stick to that, okay? We follow, we play that, okay? And that representative in a table around with 50 older guys says something as a representative for youth. And I say, we are paying a nice holiday to this guy because in fact, it's just one single guy. I very doubt very much that there is out of a survey, out of whatever. So at the end, the practical, useful thing from the youth or from the students might not be really represented well. We should think ahead a little on that, and let's try to make it something useful and worth it. Anyway, I guess that I will chat with ChatGPT about this, and let's see what they tell me. So now we have the wrap-up part of of this section. The timing guy, so Diego is telling me, no, okay, I need to be polite and just give 1 minute, wrap up. First to Christian, please go ahead, all yours.
Well, thank you so much. And I believe it's just a starting point for a much longer discussion that we need at a global level. But I believe that we are now entering the situation that we can also reflect what does it mean that AI is implemented all over, all sectors, including education. And we should always see artificial intelligence as a toolbox, as a very strong toolbox, and to reflect how we can use that for the best benefits of our students as well as our society to improve our education. And there is so much that we can learn from other experiences. That's why it's also that important that we have such meetings here and such discussions to also exchange our ideas and positions. Thank you so much for facilitating that.
Oh, thank you, Christian. You always stick to that motto. You are always present in any interesting discussion. So I'm open for contributing like here in the project. Thank you so much. Antonio, your minute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, dear colleagues. I would say that we need to start thinking in terms of political economy of digital services and political economy of artificial intelligence. Every time we have a discussion, a project about the adoption of a particular artificial intelligence related technology, we need to answer a few questions. How is the adoption of this tool affecting, shaping the relationships of the university or institution with the digital service provider? How is that shaping the relationship between the educator and the student, between the educator and the institution, between the student and the digital education provider, etc.? Look at this as an essential question for every project, for every discussion, because it will, artificial intelligence like digital services will change relationships of power in society. It will change our roles in society, professional roles, the ability of universities to provide a certain standard of education, etc., etc. So political economy of digital education services should be an obligatory topic every time we talk about artificial intelligence.
I fully agree. And in fact, we are talking about deep technologies that can be a variety of them. Okay, we are focused now on artificial intelligence, but it doesn't matter. Could be cybersecurity, could be any other of the deep tech technologies. Okay, and we shouldn't forget that these are just technologies. Okay, and we are talking about ethics and technologies. Okay, I don't find really an interesting discussion there, because the technology in itself is not ethical. It's us. We are the ethical being that has to really jiggle with all these things. Okay, so well, something to discuss further. And that's it. Thank you so much for the colloquium, both of you, and also for the participants on the other side of the line. I will hand over to Apurva for the wrap up. I have to say that I'm a little stressed because in this section, this conference, we organized the conference as head of the communication and dissemination work packages, work package at INCREDIT. And yet we have Apurva as a supervisor. He was the boss. Okay. At the conference, Diego is the boss. I'm full of bosses. At the home, you know who the boss is. I need to grow up, okay, and step up and be the boss somewhere. So Apurva, boss, please go ahead. All yours.
Yes, thank you, Danielle, and thank you, Diego, of course, for organizing this final conference. Very short from my side. So first of all, big thank you to all the guests, and then also to our panelists. So Christian and Antonio, thank you so much for joining. Thank you to my colleagues from INCREDIT as well. So from Munir, Daniel, and Diego, and then Ted from Umeo, and Tommy from Hanken, and Gojovi from Lhasa for joining in the panel discussions as well. And then, of course, thank you to the other colleagues we see on the call as well. I think INCREDIT has been a really nice experience. For many of us, this was the first time we actually got to work with each other. And despite the what you could say was a very hectic time in terms of achieving all these KPIs. When we kind of reflect back and look at them, it feels like we overachieved by a lot. So in some ways, maybe it's this classic thing of aim for the stars and land for the moon. And so maybe we did actually land a bit further than what we would have thought initially had the KPIs been a bit less optimistic. But from my side, don't want to extend it too much. So just want to say thank you. And maybe the hope is that we can continue the collaboration between us as partners, but then also hopefully keep some kind of collaboration going through this 1.5 year project that we've done together. And hopefully something more sustainable leads to each of our own partner institutions as a result of this project. So let's leave with some optimism and positive words. And thank you everyone for joining.
Okay, so that makes it for today. We are just running like 5 minutes late, which is, I think, below average. Thank you, everyone. With this event, the final conference of the INCREDIT project, we close officially the project, at least for the public, okay? So thank you so much, and we hope that we can catch up again next time in a different occasion about the same topics. Have a wonderful evening. Cheers, bye.